How's it going, everyone? Sethphir here, and welcome back to another Tower of Fantasy video. Today I am going to tell you the truth about CS or combat score and what it actually means and does for your character. Following that, I will tell you how to raise your combat score in the most efficient ways possible, and there are a few ways to do that, so we'll break them down into 4 simple categories. First will be the level and the star level of the weapons, the level and the star level of the matrices, the level and the star level of the gear, and finally the suppressor level. So first, let's get into combat score. What does it mean? What is the truth about combat score? So combat score is a relative power measurement for your character. It does not mean that your power level is going to be a lot higher than someone else's because your combat score is higher than them. It is simply the game's common aggregate of what it thinks your character is in terms of toughness. So when you take a look at combat score, this number can be impressive, like, ooh, 30,000, or you see some bigger whales with 35, 40,000 combat score. Ooh, that means a lot. It must be really good. It can be. It's a relative indicator. The thing that matters the most for damage in this game is your raw attack, your volt attack, your frost attack, your flame attack, whatever it is, the element that you're using, and then your critical hit chance, because that multiplies the bulk of your damage. Combat score doesn't increase your damage by itself. It's just based off your character's level, your base attack, and your crit, and multipliers like crit damage. So combat score is a good measurement, but it is not the end-all be-all. Do not think that high combat score equals more damage, because you can have a higher combat score and actually deal less damage because your gear has weird stats that don't match what damage type your character is doing with its weapons. So now that we know about that, we know about the end game and what that actually means, let's talk about how to raise that combat score, because that's a question I see a lot on my YouTube live streams and on the channel. I'm reading through the comments. You guys want to know, how do you increase your CS? And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to keep it 100%, and a lot of this is just going to come from straight up simply summoning more. The more you summon, the more rolls you do, the higher your CS will be. So let's take a look at that. Let's start first with weapons. So we'll go into the category here. Leveling up your weapons will increase their CS, or their combat score, just straight up. So when you level them up, you advance them to the next tier, and when we reach level 55, we'll get another threshold of item level 110 for the weapons. That's going to increase the combat score of the weapons and make them do better. So first and foremost, make sure you do that. But keep in mind that those resources are kind of limited, so be sure to only increase the common weapons that you use, like the top 3, and then maybe you can diversify out into a different element for a 4th or a 5th one, but don't do too much because you will run yourself then on materials. So now let's take a look at weapons. If I take a look at this King Scythe here, it is a star level 1. It gives 4,018 CS, which is quite high. If I had my NA hammer raised up to level 100, this would actually give more CS. So SSR weapons start to give more CS when they're right around 3 stars. Like right at 3 stars, the SSR weapons tend to generate more CS than a 6-star SR weapon will do. Do keep in mind that the SSR weapons do a lot more damage than the SR weapons, so even though that CS is relative, it's not going to actually mean power. And also keep in mind that if you need a quick boost for CS and you don't have a 3-star or higher SSR weapon, you can use a 6-star SR weapon to boost your CS higher if you're trying to aim for like a threshold for a suppressor or something like that. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the differences between SSR weapons. Here is a 1-star Crow Scythe, or a King Scythe, and we can see that it gives 4,018. If I go to my 6-star Nemesis weapon, it is giving 6,883, which is a lot. That is a lot more. So it really comes down to how many star copies of a weapon do you have. If you have all 6 stars plus the base weapon, this is going to give a lot of combat score, and that's going to be your main way to raise your combat score. And that's why I said I wanted to keep it 100 with you guys. I want to keep it as honest as possible, because this is what it boils down to. Now keep in mind that we will all get combat score eventually as time goes on. even if you're not doing that much, because you will hit these limited banner characters and you will get them naturally. Some free-to-play players even have 4, 5, 6-star SSR weapons already. It just happens to be luck and the amount of pulls that you're going to get over time, and we will be generating those because they're constantly coming into the game. So once you have gotten weapons out of the way, let's talk about matrices, because that's going to be another factor. So matrices also have a level and a star level attached to them. Here we can take a baseline and see that a level 50 gold matrice, 0 stars, will give 535 CS. That's quite a lot. Let's take a look at a 1-star purple matrice. It will give 385. So it's quite a big increase because you get 4 of these that you can sock it in. So you can easily get 1,000 CS more just by having gold chips. Now, if we take a look at a 2-star purple matrice, we can see that it's 481 CS, which is a lot closer to that 535 number. So 2-star purple matrices can be quite powerful. Keep in mind that a lot of them have super good hidden effects, like this Sobek piece, which is really strong. So at that point, you might want to choose the damage over the CS, but we'll get into that later on. So now that we have talked about the CS from these basic level 50 chips, let's go ahead and take a look at a 1-star gold chip. It is giving 713 CS, which is quite a lot more, and gold chips can go up to 3 stars. So this will be your best way to increase CS through matrices, would be getting multiple copies of the SSR matrices to power up your character, and you will get a lot of those because the Shiro matrice does come for free in the suppressor levels at higher levels. So as we level up in the game and we get more CS in general from just raw levels, you're going to hit those suppressor levels and get free copies of Shiro as a matrice. So that's always nice to see, plus whatever you manage to pull along the way from achievement points, from your rolls, and whatever else you may have can definitely start to add up. So with those 2 factors in play, let's go ahead and take a look at the next one, gear. We're going to talk about gear. There are a few avenues for gear to increase your CS or combat rating. If I take a look at these gold boots, I can see that they give 1,431 CS. If I go ahead and equip a normal pair of gold boots, I can see that I'm losing, purple boots, I can see that I'm losing quite a bit of CS. So the gold boots do have quite a good gain for me in terms of combat score. So with that in mind, there is another factor, and that's going to be the level of the item. You can see that my boots are enhancement level 20, and as you enhance the item, it is going to gain more CS. So rarity and then enhancement. And then we also have a set bonus, which is going to activate when you reach 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on in terms of your equipment. So if everything's level 5, you're going to get a bonus, which is going to give you stats, which will increase your CS. So that's always nice to have. And the final thing we're going to talk about is the star level. So here we can see that a 4-star gloves will give 1,616 for purple, and if we go ahead and equip a regular pair of gloves, we're going to see that we lose about 525 CS. So this will be a lot more valuable in terms of CS because it's going to boost us up with the advancement level. So the advancement level you would just do on the side secondary here, and you would feed gear into it to power up its level, and the legendary gear does have 5 stars available, so it will be your best CS gain at the end of the day. So now that we have talked about gear, the final thing, the last thing that we can do to increase our CS will be suppressors. And suppressors are going to be this weird sort of CS check, but sometimes a level check, depending on which one it is. It'll tell you what it is inside of the suppressor itself. But I can see here that once I reach 34,000 CS, I will be able to upgrade my suppressor, which is going to increase my stats up here at the top, and that's going to allow me to get stronger. This one's going to require me to get level 51 and also further increase my stats, but I can't unlock this one, unfortunately, until I finish the previous tier that allowed me to get this 34,000 combat rating, right? So I need to go a little higher before I can get this one for free a little bit further. So it's got a bit of an awkward mix in there for some reason, but whenever you level up your suppressor, you will increase your raw CS. So those are going to be the truth and the 100% honest ways to increase your combat score rating or your CS. So in summary, it will be the amount of summons that you do on weapons, on matrices, and then for gear, it's going to be the amount of farming that you can do in the game. When you farm elemental ore crystals, that's going to give you stuff to power up your gear, as well as doing joint operation. So that's going to be your better free-to-play friendly route of increasing your CS, is going to be through your gear, because you'll get a lot through Frontier Clash and other avenues like that. Alright, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you found this information helpful or useful at all whatsoever. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you in the next video.